Hello, I am Statman Dave, and this is the story of Manchester United's midfield maestro, Ander Herrera. Born on the 14th of August 1989 in the wonderful northern Spanish town of Bilbao. But did his parents know what they were looking at? The next great footballing export of Bilbao. Probably his father Pedro Marina Herrera, who played central midfield for Real Zaragoza in the 80s. And in fact, that was Ander Herrera's first club, Real Zaragoza. He came through the youth setup at Zaragoza, earning rave reviews about his determination and ability on the ball. Real Zaragoza achieved promotion back to the Spanish top tier that season, with Ander Herrera mainly playing as an attacking midfielder in a 4-2-3-1. Herrera then spent another 2 seasons with Zaragoza before his hometown came calling in February of 2011. The move was agreed before the end of the season, with Herrera heading to Bilbao for €7.5 million. What an absolute steal. And that in fact is where he drank Estrella by the cask. Athletic Bilbao are a special club, a historic club in La Liga, with their entire focus on developing players from the Basque region, which stretches from Bayonne in France to the beaches of San Sebastian and Bilbao. They only sign players that are born within the Basque country. They've relaxed this a little bit in recent years, with players whose grandparents or great-grandparents were born in the Basque country being able to play for Bilbao. Laporte is a great example of this new rule, a fantastic centre-half that is destined for stardom. In a world of massive transfer fees, super agents and tax evasion, Bilbao stick to some cracking foundations and key principles. Imagine a Manchester United team full of Marcus Rashfords. We can only dream. But waiting in Bilbao for Ander Herrera was one of the greatest managers that he played under, and that was of course El Loco, Bielsa. Bielsa took the reins at Athletic Club over the summer. He was known for his aggressive football, his pressing, wanting total domination over the game of football using fluid systems and almost total football. And he was the first massive coach that impacted on Ander Herrera's overall game, improving his defensive side of his game massively. Bielsa moved Herrera slightly deeper on the pitch from his usual attacking midfield position in a 4-2-3-1 to central midfield in an all-pressing 4-3-3. He played next to DeMarcos, and those two put together a sort of relationship of pressing beauty. If one went, the other one would go with, and they'd usually win the ball back. Herrera massively benefited from working with the great Argentinian. We arguably now see a number of characteristics of a Bielsa player week in, week out at Old Trafford. That's pressing, that's understanding when to jump out of the formation, out of the system, to pressurise the opponents on the ball and force a turnover. We've definitely seen that this season, with Ander Herrera winning more tackles and making more interceptions than any other United player in the Premier League. But arguably, Ander Herrera was one of the guys that really shone, with Javi Martinez the 2 best imports out of Bilbao from the Bielsa days. Not only was their style of football great, but they were competitive on all fronts. They reached the Copa del Rey final before succumbing to Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. But it was in the Europa League where they gained so many plaudits. They had so many fans. They were the hipster team of that tournament. Manchester United, the grand team from England, awaited them in the round of 16. After a disastrous campaign in Europe, Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United fell out of the Champions League group stages and stumbled past an Ajax team featuring Jan Vertonghen and Christian Eriksen in the round of 32. The first leg was Ander Herrera's first game at Old Trafford, and his thoughts on the big old stadium are absolutely fantastic. We were so happy coming to the biggest stadium in England, the most historic stadium in front of the fans that have seen the best football, a lot of titles and a lot of great players. I remember when I saw the rest of the stadium and I thought, I didn't say it to anyone, it must be good to play in front of these fans every single week. And then I played a fantastic game, maybe one of the best of my career. We beat United 3-2 at Old Trafford. That day I realised that I one day wanted to put on that red shirt and enjoy it at Old Trafford. Ander Herrera playing a wonderful lob pass over the United back four for DeMarcos to volley home. In fact, his first ever assist at Old Trafford. Often forgotten, Bilbao then beat United 2-1 at the San Mamés and went on to beat Schalke and Sporting on the way to the final. In fact, it was a step too far for Bielsa's boys, who, competing on all the fronts, La Liga, the Copa del Rey and the Europa League, has sort of run out of steam. The pressing, the intensity had dropped off. An Atletico Madrid team consisting of Falcao, Diego, Arda Turan, Gabri, Godin, Juanfran, Courtois unfortunately hammered Bilbao in the final, beating them 3-0, with Radamel Falcao scoring 2 wonderful goals. But it was a good learning curve for Ander Herrera. In fact, the summer before he moved to Manchester United, United put in a £24 million bid, but Ed Woodward didn't want to get the chequebook out and pay an extra £4 million, so he was signed a summer later for Louis van Gaal's Manchester United. His first season at United we remember for a great goal-scoring season, scored the most goals in a single season in his entire career. Which was quite interesting. He was so good at breaking into the penalty area at the right time. When LVG's passing football finally got to the opposition's penalty area, Herrera was usually there to fire the ball home. But it wasn't just goal scoring. Remember the game away at Wanfield. The day that Anfield changed from being Anfield to Wanfield, absolutely boss performance from Juan Mata. But Ander Herrera also played his part. Assisted the first goal with a fine through ball, and also, got Steven Gerrard sent off after 22 seconds, which was an absolute bit of beauty. But that season he was good and he was bad. He was a little bit inconsistent, but they were starting to blossom. You could see that there was a real player in there that wanted to explode at Manchester United in front of Old Trafford. His second season at United was pretty much an in and out campaign. He'd get the confidence in Louis van Gaal for 2 games and then he'd get dropped. He'd get the confidence for another 2 games and get dropped again. For me, it was poor mismanagement from Louis van Gaal. Often Louis van Gaal went with Wayne Rooney in central midfield instead of Ander Herrera. What a mistake that was. Herrera only started 16 Premier League games, which is an absolute abomination for a player that we've seen this season absolutely flourish. And that's where he exploded, his 3rd season under Mourinho. It took a while for Herrera to actually get into Mourinho's first 11. It was a rainy, wet night in Northampton that changed Ander Herrera's season. United won that game 3-1, but Ander Herrera scored his first goal of the season. And he played the next game, and the next game, and the next game. And then he continued to play games. And he ended up playing over 50 games for Manchester United this season, which was bettered only by David De Gea and Paul Pogba. And he became a real key component, a key weapon for Mourinho's men. Ander Herrera is often described as a very intelligent footballer. In terms of where he's evolved under Mourinho, he's become that tactical weapon. You think of the game against Chelsea in the Premier League. A must-win game for Manchester United in their quest to actually get into the top 4, which they failed to do. It was Man United against Chelsea at home. Chelsea, who were dominant, top of the league, absolutely flying. Eden Hazard, the best player in the Premier League at that point, had been tearing people apart on the counter-attack. His creativity, playing from the left wing, moving into the hole, was absolutely fantastic. What did Mourinho do in that game? An absolute tactical masterclass, with Ander Herrera man-marking Eden Hazard. United pretty much set up as a 3-4-2 plus Ander Herrera. Wherever Hazard went, Ander Herrera was following him, biting him. He pretty much nullified the Belgium, whose game by numbers is a picture, a story to tell. 0 shots, 0 dribbles completed, created only a single chance, and completed 79% of his passes. Absolutely Herrera. Part of his game that's underrated, that he can get these assists. In fact, he got 6 this season in the Premier League, which was the joint most at Manchester United. You put that on top of the fact that he won the most tackles at United, made the most interceptions, and also completed the second most passes per game in the Premier League. Ander Herrera had an absolutely brilliant season under Mourinho. But I want to take you now to the end of the season. The biggest game of United's season, and the finale of Ander Herrera's season was in Stockholm. Ajax versus Manchester United, the Europa League final, the biggest game United have had in the last 3 to 4 to 5 seasons, the biggest game since Sir Alex Ferguson left the dugout. United needed to win this game to get into the Champions League. It was absolutely huge. Ajax had a fantastic Europa League campaign, Peter Bosz having them playing such an aggressive, pressing style of football, so good at strangling opponents, winning the ball high up the pitch and creating chances. Ander Herrera's job that day was to sit deep in midfield. Fellaini was playing as sort of a second striker, a target in attacking midfield. United went long to him and bypassed the Ajax press. Paul Pogba was playing as sort of a box-to-box shuttling role in central midfield, and Ander Herrera had to sit and arguably deal with Ajax's creative hub, Ziyech, in midfield. Ziyech plays left centre midfield, Ander Herrera was lining up in United's 4-2-3-1 on that right-hand side. He did a man-to-man job on Ziyech, was absolutely fantastic. Ziyech, a player that in the semi-final had registered 3 assists in a single game. But Ander Herrera was fantastic. He completed 100% of his dribbles, 24 passes, 13 tackles, 4 blocks, 4 interceptions, and arguably a little bit of gamesmanship, which I really like from Ander Herrera. I like how he can wind up his opponent. I like the job that he did on Eric Dyer. And in that final, Ander Herrera did not put a foot wrong. He allowed Marouane Fellaini to flourish, he allowed Paul Pogba to push on, just protecting the 2 centre-backs, Daley Blind and of course Chris Smalling. They didn't have a problem all game because Ander Herrera's shielding was so good. And it's sort of, where does Ander Herrera go next? For me, it's United captain. That's where I want to see Ander Herrera. And when interviewed earlier on the season about him becoming United captain, his response was brilliant. honest but professional at the same time. So I'm very thankful to the fans about thinking about me for captain, obviously, but I don't want to think about it yet. I think there's other players, other legends at the club that deserve it a bit more, the likes of Wayne Rooney, Michael Carrick, and so forth. But that's a real good understanding of Manchester United, that he needs to deserve to fight to be the captain. But quite frankly, for me, the best central midfielder in the Premier League this season, the most complete, better than N'Golo Kante. He won more tackles, made more interceptions, completed more passes, created more goals. And it's the real interesting part where Ander Herrera goes next. Is it in a three-man midfield with Paul Pogba and Fabinho? The big thing that Mourinho talks about Ander Herrera is his smartness on the football pitch. And again, going back to that Europa League final, the moment when he spoke to Henrik Mkhitaryan on the edge of the box, United winning the game 1-0, they had a corner around the 55th minute. Ander Herrera instructed Mkhitaryan to go back into the penalty area and stand on the goalkeeper. Mourinho was livid. What Mkhitaryan was supposed to be doing was defending the counter-attack on the end. You know, a pacey player could keep up with the play if Ajax broke. But what Ander Herrera did is he instructed his Armenian teammate to push back into that box. That was because Mkhitaryan was on a yellow card, which meant that if he'd gone back to defend the counter-attack and had to commit a foul and picked up a yellow card, he would have been sent off. United down to 10 men, Ajax possession base, probably would have won that game. But Ander Herrera made that choice on the pitch, and Mourinho credited him for him later after berating him on the sideline. And that's the smartness that Ander Herrera is going to give Manchester United next season on their quest to win the Premier League and win the Champions League. But anyway guys, that is the story of Ander Herrera up to date right now. If there's anything you feel I've missed out on Ander Herrera's wonderful career, get it into the comments below, and of course, subscribe to Full Time Devils because the guys are the Anyway, I've been Statman Dave, check me out on YouTube as well. Over and out, that is the story of Ander Herrera. I've absolutely loved recording this for you guys and hope you've enjoyed it too.